Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having a good week thus far. I am recording this on Wednesday, January the 8th. Today is a 9-9 gateway. I did write about that on my Moonrise Musing for today. And broke down all of the 39 dates of this year that we are having these 9-9 gateways, but this is the first one of the year, and these are gates that are aligning us and getting ready for the grand portal, 999 portal, that will be happening in September, smack in the middle of Virgo season. And that will be about the beginning of the materializing of the new Earth legacy timelines here on the Earth plane. So we're all being made ready for that right now. And these 9-9 gateways are days where you could say it's extra auspicious, in terms of helping us to align in a myriad of ways. It doesn't always feel good. Sometimes they will be days where the purging will be more intense or the lessons will be a little bit more precise. But either way, for as long as you are tuning into what it is that's serving you, because that's what the number 9 is about. That's what that Virgo Hermit energy is about. It's about serving yourself and your own soul so you can diligently, from that place, serve others. And this is what a lot of the lessons and the medicine that will be coming through when the North Node finally moves into Pisces and the South Node moves into Virgo. We will be learning the beauty of how Pisces and Virgo work together. Pisces is very, very, wants to be everything to everyone, and Virgo is very, very stringent about boundaries and self-preservation and as well as other things. So we will be learning how to utilize the power of that, as well as alchemizing the ways that we've done. We've had to erect very high walls and boundaries because of the fuckery of the false matrix, and how those boundaries and walls need to be reassessed as we move into newer timelines and we learn what it is to be open and vulnerable and transparent again, because we're actually moving in the company of self-aware beings. Okay, so a lot of aligning happening today and through these 9 gateways that will be occurring all year. So I said I would come back and do, the rest of the downloads, and I've gotten some more since then too. They won't be a part of today's reading. I'm going to continue with the rest of the downloads I didn't get into with the last video. And the first one is actually not a download. It is somebody was commenting, a beautiful soul who has been with me for a minute, in terms of supporting and encouraging my work. He was commenting on my platform SOLARAH'S on the Daily Alchemy from last week, and we were conversing in the comment section, and he said something that just seemed to just pick up so beautifully on the energies of what was happening at the time and what is still happening and what everyone was going through and talking about with that particular Daily Alchemy post. And so he said something, and I asked him if I could use it in a video as a title or as a main point of focus, and he said yes. So his exact words were, "They are desperate and trying risky tactics." They are desperate and trying risky tactics. And that goes back to partly of what I was getting into yesterday when I was speaking about all of the craziness of the attacks that were occurring over the holidays, and how a lot of the time when they're showing up in our fields now, it's very obvious. And the more obvious their attacks become, the more risky it is for them. And I'm going to explain a little bit why. So the whole premise of what they've been doing to us here in the false matrix was designed to keep us unaware. It was designed to keep us stuck in a very specific range of consciousness, whereby if we hit the ceiling of that, we would always push ourselves back down because we were taught that it was crazy. And if we still chose to push past that ceiling, then the mobbing energy, the social mobbing energy, would try to push us back in the box by making us feel like we were crazy, or telling us we were conspiracy theorists, there was something wrong with us. All of these it was like border control to keep us stuck in a certain level of consciousness. And the programming of the false matrix was designed for us to stay there. And socially, if we went beyond that, we would be ostracized, we would be rejected, we would be thrown out of the group. So for a lot of us, a lot of people, especially, before these huge ascension energies started landing on the planet in the past, like 14 years or so, a lot of the times we would recoil and we'd go back into that, we'd go back into living within the context of that lower consciousness way of thinking, feeling, and being. Even if we knew better, we wouldn't want to rock the boat, because there was a lot of that mobbing energy that tries to come and tear you down. And it doesn't even matter what the point is of what it is you're saying. They will come and they will try to put their claws in you over something that has nothing to do with what you're arguing over. And it just, it would get to be too much. So a lot of the time, we would recoil from that, and we would, go about our own merry way, or sometimes we would be convinced back into the box. You know what I mean? And for as long as their programming could keep us in that lower sense of consciousness, we couldn't see what it was that they were actually doing. We couldn't see their tactics. And one of the greatest ways that they illustrated this for us all to see was the Wizard of Oz. And remember how every single character in the Wizard of Oz, they were actually fearing parts of self that were intrinsic. And they were fearing parts of self that were intrinsic, and they thought they could go to the great wizard because in their eyes, the wizard was running everything and was all powerful and yada, 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 when the wizard was really just using fear and trickery and smoke screens and mirrors and projections to keep them living in fear states where they wouldn't be able to access those true parts of self. And that's what the false matrix has been doing. And the minute that the wizard was revealed, the roost was up, right? And that's the thing about magic, quote unquote, or this fuckery that they enacted upon us, is that they had to do it invisibly. They had to tell us what they were doing without telling us what they were doing in order to find a loophole in the universal law whereby they're supposed to be completely transparent with us and be telling us the T's and C's of what we are assigning our consciousness to, right? But a lot of the time, they were resting on the fact that they could stay hidden. And the ones that were really truly running the show, the ones at the top of this pyramid scheme, are the ones that you've never seen before. You've never seen them before. The other ones that you see more publicly are beneath them. Right? So, and even the ones, those of you who've dealt with family mobbing situations and family abuse and being targeted and siphoned and energy harvested, and family members who are parts of secret societies and groups and factions whereby they do initiations so that they can target you and take things from you, and all that, all of the shenanigans I've been talking about here for a while, even they oftentimes aren't fully aware of what it is they're doing. They don't have the true spiritual knowledge. They just are given, sometimes they're just given recipes, or they're told to do certain things without having the wherewithal of knowing what it is they're actually doing. And a lot of them are so stupid that they don't really care. They just like the fact that they get an effect. So they don't care to know the nitty gritty of what it is they're actually producing, which actually fucks them over, because now they're karmically tied into the fuckery of the ones at the top of the pyramid too, and they're trying to draw other beings in and harm them and siphon from them, and they're living the life of Riley a lot, or pretending to in the false matrix. But really, what they're doing on the spiritual tip is actually draining and laying to waste their own souls, right? So this is why we say, selling the soul. So they're desperate and they're trying risky tactics. Why are their tactics risky? Well, their tactics were always risky. They were always taking a risk by trying to program us, lie to us, steal from us, resell us back our gifts and our dreams, repackaged as if they belonged to someone else as opposed to us. They were always taking a risk, but as ascension has continued to progress and the collective consciousness is expanding and more people are waking up to the shenanigans, what they were doing can no longer be hidden, because people are no longer content to reach that point, that ceiling of their own consciousness, and not kind of poke and go past. And because we are in a collective frequency on the planet now that actually supports more expansion and doesn't support us always retracting back into the constrictive nature of how they'd set everything up in the false matrix energetically, because ascension is promoting our expansion, it means that we are able to see past what it was we were programmed to believe. And once you're able to see past what you were programmed to believe, you begin to realize that the things they told you weren't possible, that's actually not true. And once you can begin to access that in your own mind and realize that everything they've told you is a lie, it begins to open your mind up to realize that anything is actually possible. And when your mind begins to open up and you begin to realize, shit, anything is actually possible, and everything they told me wasn't possible actually is, and it's a lie. And if this is possible when they told me it wasn't, then what are the limitations of possibility? And the further you go along, you realize there are no fucking limitations. There's never been any fucking limitations. That the limited state that we've been in on this planet has been through deep state programming. Okay, so now when they continue to try those tactics, they're taking a risk because they need you not to see. They need you to be duped. They need you in your lower state of consciousness, so you're not going to pursue past the possibility of what you've been told isn't possible. So like I was sharing yesterday in the other video, like I was saying how, some of my stuff got erased on my computer on New Year's Eve, and I'd already felt the presence of an off-planet energy in my midst. And I kept pushing it out, kept pushing itself back in, and then my technology, hold on a second. Then weird things started happening with my technology and things just started to disappear. And after I sat down and I really tuned into what was going on, I began to realize, oh, this is happening telepathically. Because understand and overstand that a lot of these off-planet beings, and some of the ones that are feeding information through these societies to these initiates, they are fully aware of how you work psychically. Even if you don't know or you don't remember how to telepathically link yourself to other beings, you still can do it. You're still constantly doing it. You're just doing it without realizing it, And yeah, the connections, the synapses are a little bit weaker because you haven't practiced. It hasn't occurred in a very long time, but it's still there. Now, these other beings, they're using telepathy all the time. And indeed, some people would say, like, the beings, the powers that orchestrated the fuckery of the false matrix were beings who use mental magic. So they're really great at projecting thoughts, projecting things that switch mental energy. Okay, they are good at playing with the element of air. Okay, but so are you, so am I. And once you begin to wake up to that and you realize how these things work, then when things start to shift in your material reality that you've been told aren't possible and doesn't make sense, you begin to see how it's happening. And the minute you begin to see how it's happening is the minute you have removed the curtain and you're seeing the fucking wizard. And the minute you see what it is that they're doing, which in many ways is fucking illegal, then you're able to call karmic justice and you're able to get back what it is that they've been taken. You're able to get restitution, and they're fucking afraid of that. They don't like that because they like to hide in the shadows and have you be afraid and not aware of how they're doing things because you've been told it's not possible. There's no way an invisible energy could enter into my space and telepathically connect with my technology and shift files about at its own whim. Of course it can. Guess what? You can do that too. You can. I can do that too. Now, you may not remember how to do it. You may not actively be doing it right now. But how many times have you been online and your frequency has had an effect on what's going on your computer? How many times have you tripped your own Wi-Fi? How many times? I know for me, because I'm constantly working with high frequency beings, like holding the space online, where you know the energy of the chat doesn't go crazy. It's hard sometimes, which is why I will always tell people, you know, one of the reasons I will say when we meet up for a one-to-one, be grounded, be well hydrated, be grounded. And part of that is so I'm able to channel effectively, but another part of it is so that when we communicate through the technology, we don't trip the system. So we do it unconsciously, right? So the minute that you begin to cotton on to what has actually been going on, they're fucked. Because a lot of the things they've been doing are actually illegal. And the only reason they've been getting away with it is because you haven't been seeing it in order to call them out. So it's kind of like this. Think about this. If you walk into your home and you have been robbed, you haven't seen the robber, and you know you can report the robbery and everything. You can see that you've been robbed because it's in the natural, but it doesn't guarantee, if there's no eyewitness account, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get any justice. And if you know anything about the fake justice system of the false matrix, it's not like what you see in the fucking TV shows. For one thing, they're not here to protect you. They're here to protect those who pay their salary. And a lot of these corporations, a lot of these places, these things that are supposed to be your justice system are corporations. In other words, their alliance, their loyalty is not to you, even though they're going to get on stage and pretend that it is. Okay? Because all the world's a fucking stage in the false matrix, right? Anyway, so you get robbed. You know, it's your word against nothing. So, you know, you might, but you probably won't get any justice, especially if you're living in, you know, like a lower social class, etc., or you're black, for example, you know, anywhere in the West, especially the Northern Hemisphere, you know. So anyway, but if you walk in while the robber is robbing you, and you're able to call someone else to witness, and you're able to call law enforcement, and they find them in the act, then they're fucked. They can't get away with anything, right? They can't take anything from you, and they can't deny what it is because they've been caught red-handed. Okay? When they're caught red-handed, then they can be put through the justice system, and then they can be put away. The fake justice. We won't get into all of that, but you get what I'm saying. You know, they can go through all of that, and they can be put away, right? So it's the same thing when you're dealing with these off-planet energies and entities, and even the ones who are operating here and moving through other beings, because there's a lot of that too. You know, when they are in your space, fucking with you and trying to mess with you and change your mental and your emotional reality, which goes against universal law, especially when you've pulled your consent back to everything that you blindly and unconsciously signed your consciousness over to because you were a part of the false matrix. That's what many of my decrees are about. I have a very specific decree. The first one I ever wrote is like one of my most comprehensive. I can't remember. I think it's like ending false matrix contracts or something along those lines. And once you begin to stand in that power and state what you know your rights to be as a sovereign being, and they start to trespass when you've broken those contracts, and you catch them, then you can press charges to the fullest of universal law, not only for what they've done, but for any losses they've caused and anything that they have taken from you. You can do all of that. It may not return to you, you know, perfectly at the exact time or, you know, exactly how it was lost, but you can still do that. Whereas before you had no agency. In fact, most of the time, those kinds of energies would put you into a tizzy. You start seeing everything on your screen start to erase, or things here and there, because that's kind of what they do sometimes too, like little things to make you question your own sanity. You start to see those little things go. Then you get frustrated, You know, it ruins your day. It might ruin your productivity. Whatever it was that you planned on doing, you can't do. Now you're now you're upset, and you lash out at your partner or your children, and now there's this energy flying that's causing chaos now in your relationship, and then there's a fight, and you got to fix it. All of this shit. That's the collateral damage of being fucked with, and it's wrong. Right? So you can, when you begin to recognize this and understand and overstand how all of this works and what your actual fucking rights are and how they need to stay invisible in order to enact what they're doing without consequence, then you'll begin to see how desperate they're becoming in the fact that you are able to see things and they're still taking that risk. And not only are they desperate, not only are they taking great risk, and they're desperate, and this is why they're doing it, but they're also, again, and I've talked about this before, it's an arrogance. A lot of them expect you to continue to be the same person you've always been while living in the false matrix. Like you're not going to be able to pick up on these higher forms of thinking and connecting. You know, like they're higher than you. And most of the time, the irony is these beings are on a lower level in terms of consciousness than you anyway. Because a high frequency being who's connected to high states of consciousness doesn't use their gifts to fuck around and trick people. You know? So, another way you know that they are desperate is when they're being this risky and this sloppy. You know, because they have more to lose. You know, so they're going to go, it's like playing poker. They're going to go all in, because rather go all in and take a chance of like having a huge return, you know. But if you've played poker and you've had a shitty hand and you go all in because you're bluffing and the other person calls your bluff and you show them your hand, then you're fucked. Like you're really fucked, right? And that's kind of the energy that we're in. But, you know, it's funny because energy works like a figure eight, like an infinity sign. So in the same way that they are, they're desperate and they are trying risky tactics, it's like so many of us are so emboldened at this point and so fed up by the fuckery that we don't give any fucks anymore. You know, and we're ready. Like another download was coming in. Is like, you're not afraid to burn it all down. Like where there was a lot of fear to go into certain places, to say certain things, to admit certain things, to call these energies out, to push into them instead of hiding from them and being afraid. This is where you're rising up too, and you're taking more risk also. But your risks are calculated. Your risks are rooted on the foundation of the truth of your power and who you are, because you've reclaimed that. Whereas their risk is based upon bluffing still. So it's like sitting at the poker table, like I was talking about before, and you have the person who has like the aces in their hand, and you have the other person that has like a shit hand. They've got nothing. They've got nothing, but they've put in so many chips already that they refuse to just fold. And so they're like, fuck it, you know, I'm just going to go all in and pretend I'm going to bluff and hope that this other person doesn't call my bluff. And that they therefore surrender to me, even though I've got a shitty hand, because I need to get back everything I've lost. Right? So they go and they go all in. But the person sitting there, and they know they got like aces, or they know they've got like a whatever it's like, royal flush or a full flush, whatever it is. I haven't played Texas Hold'em in a while. I don't remember. But you guys know, like they have a real legitimate winning hand, and they're like, no, I'm going to bet on myself and the power of this hand, and they put the cards down, and the one who's bluffing has to now put their cards down too, and they're fucked. Now it's time for you to take all your chips, right? And to be really, really, be really, really fucking like obnoxious about it too. You know, you ever seen those movies where they have those scenes and they're playing poker, and that's exactly what they do. They're just like, you know, taking them all and like trying to emphasize the fact that it's all theirs. You know, that's how you have to be now moving in these energies with these bluffers. That's what they are. A whole bunch of bluffers. They always were bluffers, but they had everything organized in such a way that they could consistently bluff and cheat you anyway. And now their whole structure, the false matrix, has completely collapsed. And so they have nothing to protect them when they bluff anymore. You know? So, okay. And you're not afraid to burn it all down. You're not afraid to put all your chips in and go all in, because you know you have a winning hand now. You know, because you've risen past the ceiling where they wanted to trap and condense your consciousness into a space where it never belonged. And in blowing off the ceiling, blowing off, you know, the shackles and the barriers placed on your fucking crown chakra, by blowing past all of that, now you're able to actually connect with your truth. Because we at 0 degrees Aries, North Node energy. In Aries, this is a portal back into your divine mind. This is a portal back into your divine identity. This is a portal back into who the fuck you actually are, and why the false matrix had to program you in order to keep running. This be the fucking portal that takes you back into your true sense of sovereignty, that's born from, like, instinctively, intrinsically, undoubtedly knowing who you are. Past the programming. And when you do, the programs that are still trying to hold on to you, they crumble. And when those programs start to crumble, then the fuckery that occurs where they're trying to do things invisibly and they've programmed you to believe it's not possible, you start to see all that shit and be like, wait a hot minute, I see what you just did. I know in the false matrix we've been told it's not possible, and if I run around telling this to the wrong person, they're going to think I'm crazy. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. I know what I saw. I know what you're trying to hide, and I actually can see your energy. Because guess what? I've tuned myself out of the limitations of the false matrix and back into my infinite mind. So playtime is up. Give me all my chips. Okay, so you're not afraid to burn it all down. You're not afraid to burn it all down. In other words, you're not afraid to take a risk and it's the same energy of the poker table. You're not afraid because you know what's backing you at this point. And these energies are like pushing this agenda to try to get you to self-destruct. But what's ultimately going to happen is that the energies that once upon a time could push you to the brink of where you would revert to behaviors that were self-destructive and self-sabotaging, when you tune into who you really are, your own aura begins to repel those lies and those stories and those fake emblems of an identity that never belonged to you. And it goes back to the storyteller. It goes back to the author of the lies. It goes back to the people who are trying to project instead of taking responsibility for why they feel so fucking inferior in your presence to begin with. Okay? Because that's really what it is. Like, when you take out the personal attacks and the personal effrontery in any way you feel victimized by these people, and you just break it down to raw energetic principles, this is what it is. A lot of you are high frequency beings. You step into a room, you step into a space, you challenge people who carry a lower frequency than you. You challenge them to come higher. And anytime you're going higher, you have to deal with the shadow energies and densities that have kept you lower. So they come up and they hit their shadow. And because the false matrix taught everyone to repress and didn't teach us how to process our wounds or to be self-aware, and taught us to repress our shadow, hide our shadow, kick our shadow to the curb, these people, and we all do it to a certain extent, we get faced with our shadow, and instead of running towards it and sitting down and being like, you know what, let's have a drink. Let's you and me talk about what's going on here. Like, why am I feeling this way? What is the true lesson? What is the true message? What is the true medicine that you're here to show me? You've learned how to do that, right? But most people, when they're confronted with their shadow, it instantly triggers shame. And instead of facing up to, why they might feel ashamed and whether that shame is actually even warranted or not, which most of the time it's not, they don't like that feeling. And so they turn it around and make it about you. They make the story about you instead, right? They make their discomfort about something that you're doing. And all you've done is activate them to see this energy, to see and to connect with this shame story so that they can actually be liberated and be free of it. But when you don't realize that's how energy works and you've been living like this, you're constantly, and then you're living in a society where your caliber of energy is not wanted. And so they've set everything up socially to make sure that you're ostracized and pushed out. So you were continually getting pelted by these lower consciousness beings who weren't able to face their own shadows. And so we're constantly putting that energy in your fields until your fields got so crowded and clouded that you thought the things you were feeling and thinking about yourself, which was actually their rejected shadow, you thought it was you. You thought and you might have been really fucking confused about who you were. Really fucking conflicted, even if you couldn't figure out why you felt so fucking conflicted. Because you were walking around carrying a whole bunch of energies on you that didn't belong to you and didn't match your true frequency, which caused more distortion in your fields that would manifest in all manner of ways. Autoimmune disease, for one. All manner of pains and issues, mental and emotional disturbances that had nothing to do with you, but everything with the fact that you were carrying energies that didn't belong to you. So you're not afraid now to burn it all down because you know who you are and you know who they are too. And you can call them on their bluff also because you see the way that they're shadow slinging and running away from who they really are and trying to use you as their energetic scapegoat. Right? And those who once upon a time got away with doing that, they're sensing this about you too. They're sensing this in your energy. They're sensing that you're no longer their human dump. You're no longer their emotional and mental dumping ground. Because now when they come into your energy, because your aura is rooted in the truth of who you are, what it is that they once upon a time could just project towards you and get some temporary relief from divesting themselves of their shit, it's just coming back. And for some of you, the way your aura works, it doesn't just send things back. And this is what I say to people all the time, especially those of you with a lot of divine feminine energy. It doesn't just go back in the same way. No, that energy comes into your aura and the propulsion of your aura pushing it out magnifies that energy and pushes it back to them with speed. It's the ultimate return to sender when you rise into the fullness of who you are and you know who you are and you switch your programming into your rightful and righteous settings. Then everything that tries to come and pull you into a lie is going to ping off of you. It's going to ping off of you, right? So another thing that was coming through is they will end up struggling with their own idea of self-identity before they gaslight you out of being the fullness of who you are ever again. I'm going to say that a few times so it lands. They will end up struggling with their own idea of self-identity before they gaslight you out of being the fullness of who you are again. They will end up struggling with their own idea of self-identity before they gaslight you out of being the fullness of who you are again. Okay, and that's because of the energy mechanism I'm talking about. They're trying to pull you into a false narrative by not owning their own shit. And once upon a time, you took that on as your own narrative, and now literally your energy field is spitting it out and magnifying it back to them. And so it's going to confuse them. And the truth is, it's not really confusing them any more than it's just showing them their true confusion, because these are beings that are not rooted in themselves, which is why they need to constantly pull other beings down to feel a sense of self, a false sense of self, or a sense of control. So all you're actually doing is when you're giving them back their own energy, you're magnifying how confused they actually are, which is why they will begin to wake up to their true lack of self, their true lack of real identity, because for so long they've banked on being able to pretend to be something they're not by holding together this persona that the cost of it was constantly offloading and outsourcing and divesting themselves of everything that felt uncomfortable and putting it onto other people. And, like some of this is unconscious, and then some of you will be dealing with people who've been purposely psychically attacking you. And the penalty for that is going to be even more powerful when you really anchor into your truth and your power, and you refuse to, in any fucking way, accept the lie and the diversions that they are psychically sending towards you to try to pull you into a lower way of thinking about yourself. So there are beings who've been purposely psychically attacking you because for whatever reason, we don't have to, maybe the cards will tell us a little bit more, but for whatever reason, they needed you at a lower frequency. And some of it, again, is unconscious because they don't know how to feel stable within themselves, right? And also be a house for that energy. And another part of it are these beings who are involved in these shady, shisty, shitty initiations and deals and alliances and alignments, because they're taught this. They are taught this. They're taught this in many of these factions and societies. They're taught how to put people into mental and emotional distress. They're taught how to use these dark psychology tactics to keep people beneath them, or to keep people thinking that they're beneath them. This is what they're taught. This is how they're able to pretend like they can run the world. Because they've been taught very specifically how to utilize dark psychology and mind magic to keep people playing and thinking and being small, so that they can then lord over everyone else. And this is at all levels of society. It's in family structures, it's in the schooling structure, it's definitely in the workplace, it's everywhere, right? And the higher they climb in the world, the more they're taught these tactics to keep other beings from being able to climb with them. That's really what it is. They need to feel like they're above you so that you don't catch up to where they're going. And when you catch up to where they're going, and you catch up to where they're going based upon the pure merit of your consciousness, and not the mind fuckery and tricks because you're not aligned to these societies, and you really piss them the fuck off. You really piss them. How dare you not come through my secret group and still know the things that I know? In fact, you know more than me because you're actually really tuned in, which is why I had to try to keep you down and unaware of that. So I could pretend that I knew more than you. And for as long as I thought I knew more than you, and more importantly, as long as you thought I knew more than you, I was sitting pretty. Fucked up, right? So when it comes to someone who is dealing with these people who are purposely throwing these psychic energies towards you to try to unhinge you, I'm specifically picking up on someone in deep fear, concern, and sadness, because somehow they know they've reached the end of the road. They're desperate and trying risky tactics. They're seeing that whatever it is that they throw at you, now it's not working. You just alchemize it, or you spit it back. And this is where this energy gets shut down now. Remember I said to you yesterday, the tactics don't stop. A lot of this stuff doesn't stop. What happens is that you learn how to tune yourself back into your power and into your energy field, so that, for one thing, your aura spits it out and you rise above and you start to soar above the energy. And so it doesn't matter how much they throw at you, you're no longer at that same altitude to get hit. And then when you're no longer at that altitude to get hit, then they got to sit down at that altitude and deal with the destruction that they've reaped upon you when you were at that altitude. And now ultimately, this is when the bill comes, because you're no longer an opponent. They have no opponent anymore. So now the bill comes for everything, because they lost the game. They've lost it. They've lost it. The False Matrix, in case you didn't know, was a game. It was Hunger Games, and they purposely set us up against one another in very real and obvious ways, and then in very, very sly and covert ways too. Okay, so I'm going to get into the cards. Before I do that, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to do my announcements quickly. So I do have 6 slots still available for the group session this Sunday, January the 12th. It's called Getting on Track for 2025. Okay, I'm going to put the link below. You can read what that is all about. I'm not going to get into it too much. I don't want to be too verbose about these. I want to get into the reading. But if you're looking to join me for a group session, then you can this Sunday. And there's only 7 seats available. No, there aren't anymore, but 7 in total available. Okay, my accountability partnership coaching for 2025 is also open. I will put the link for that below. That's working with me one-to-one all year, where we will meet every month, for various amounts of time depending on the month, and all the information for how that's going to work is also included in the description box and comment section. Okay, I also have put on Ko-Fi my January schedule for soul recovery sessions. So I'm beginning to limit how many sessions I take every month. And for the month of January, I've got 12 60-minute spots available and 8 90-minute slots available. So if you want, you can book through Ko-Fi directly instead of emailing me anymore, because I just need to find a more efficient way with these appointments, so I'm not constantly going back and forth with people. So yes. If you would desire a 60 or 90-minute soul recovery session with me in the month of January, you can sign up through the Ko-Fi. You can pay, you can do everything through that link. I want to thank all of you for already, those of you who've made your way over to solar.xyz, thank you, thank you, thank you. Those of you who haven't yet, if it's not for you, that's fine. But for those of you who want to know more about it, then I'm extending the invitation. You don't have to pay anything to be there. There's free options also. For one thing, Daily Alchemy will always be free. And if you sign up over there, you will receive it in your mailbox every single day, because I'm pulling it from a lot of these platforms on the daily. But you can still get Daily Alchemy for free every day by signing up, okay? As well as, I think you'd get Sunrise Salutation on a Monday and a Friday also, or Moonrise Musing, depending on what I'm writing, as well as other things. So if you joined Daily Alchemy, you also will get every single day until around the 24th of January, you will have the discount code to utilize on Ko-Fi for all my saleable merchandise. That's 25% off of all my saleable merchandise up until January the 25th. That includes this Sunday's group session, as well as if you sign up for soul recovery sessions through Ko-Fi and you utilize that discount code that you'll get through the site, you will also be able to use that. And you get that discount code by signing up for Daily Alchemy, and every time you get Daily Alchemy posted to you in your inbox every day, the code will be there as a reminder. Okay, so that's how you will access the code. Okay, so there's no confusion. It's not going to come up as soon as you join the site. It's going to come up very specifically upon receipt of the Daily Alchemy. So if you sign up tonight, tomorrow morning when Daily Alchemy comes, you'll see right above it, it will have the discount code for Ko-Fi. Okay, so let's get into some cards. I've resurrected my Karmic Chronicles, my various Karmic Chronicles decks. They've come out of, they haven't been in hiding. It's just I haven't been using them as much in the past year for many reasons, but I've been feeling the call to go back into them, because there's a fine balance between noticing the fuckery and getting lost in it, you know? And we have to always remember how to be aware without losing what's actually going on and who we really are in the midst of all of this stuff. So we have accidental poisoning coming out, and at the bottom we do have spirits of poverty. Now, as I take out that accidental poisoning, this is not only a personal message, it feels like a collective one with everything that's been going on recently with, you know, I mean, I don't watch the news, but I don't think you have to watch the news to hear about some of the chemical warfare we've been involved in the past couple of weeks. Okay. So this is a question card. It says, what is it that you truly want to die? What feeling and experience? Ignore the people and situations. So this is coming up because this is what I was talking about before. Like, sometimes when we get too stuck or lost into actually what's happening, we miss the opportunity to see what's actually being shown. And that's what they like us to do also. Like, that energy that showed up and was fucking with my computer wanted me to get lost in being victimized and all this other stuff. Didn't want me to actually connect with what was actually happening. Right? So that's one example, but sometimes it's like, it's even more personal. So it's like these energies want to use smoke screens and mirrors to keep you distracted instead of finding out the pattern that has been implemented in your energy field to keep you coming back to the same point. Okay, so be more invested in what it is, the medicine that's coming out of this, as opposed to the minutiae and the details that want to distract at this time. Yeah, beautiful. Timeline jumping due to a divine union or contract. Okay, so you're timeline jumping because it's time for you to rise into a contract or to access a divine union. And so whenever you're about to make a big jump into something that has been closed off to you, it will feel like all hell is breaking loose at times. And it's not that all hell is breaking loose per se, so much as it is that all that was promoting your imprisonment starts to crumble around you. And it can be very disconcerting because the things that start to crumble are things that maybe you thought were part of your security, but they may have been your security at the level you're leaving, and now you have to leap into a higher level where your security is going to be something else or something greater, which is why the focus right now needs to not be on the old story or what is happening to you. The focus needs to be on how is this energy showing up for you now so that you're able to jump. 2121 on my clock right now. I keep on seeing that. I don't know how many of you have been getting that number also, 2121. I've seen it a few times today. I think yesterday I got the 12 and the 21 when I, was it here? I forget. I've been doing quite a few readings the past few days. But yeah, 2121, that's the double world. That's like the closing out, right? 2121. That's Sagittarius, a degree of Sagittarius, 21. which makes sense with the timeline jumping. The moon entering into Sagittarius this month might be significant. The moon's moving all the way up to the full moon in Sagittarius probably in May or June, might be of significance. I think it probably will be in June, actually. There is a new door that was opened in Sagittarius season, and it's created different milestones that you're going through to completely close out an old story that had you trapped and unable to travel. Okay? And by the full moon in Sagittarius, something would have reached an ecliptic point in terms of you no longer being able to have any more access to that energy that was restricting your ability to travel. Someone is manifesting in your energy consciously. And then what I got at the bottom of the deck was no way out, casting illusion. So you ask yourself, what is this person manifesting in your energy on a conscious level? Someone is purposely, psychically attacking you to try to get you to believe that a situation you're in is more hopeless than it is, and that you are unable to move, right? They also might be doing things to block your finances, or have been doing things to block your money along the way. And the reason why you might feel like there's no way out or that you can't move is because of finances, right? But know that this is all projection. This is all things that are being projected towards you very purposely to keep you stuck. Okay, but this is actually, it's in these situations where you learn the power of your soul and the power of your own mind to overwrite their story. There is no one who is able to be a better author over yourself than you. Your parents are given the privilege and the honor to be the author over you as a child. It's a divine privilege and an honor for them to do so, because they are supposed to help you rise into your own authorhood in authenticity. But most of these people took that job of being the author of you when you were coming of age, and used their pen to write a story that would ultimately destroy you. But at the end of the day, and for many of you, for many of us up until now, that authority that was given to them was so profound, and we did not realize the power that we had, that we continued to live out our story and our life as if they still had the pen. And when it wasn't them, we just passed the pen to anyone, that because we were, a lot of us were made to feel that we didn't have the ability to write our own story, that we just had to live with who we were, live with the circumstances, And so the truth of the matter is that nobody has more authority. No one has ever actually had more authority over your story than you. And so it doesn't matter how much another person is manifesting in your energy. It doesn't matter how much a person is trying to psychically attack you and send you shit. And this is not me in any way saying that it's easy, because I would never dismiss the shit you have to go through to alchemize these energies, and I've shared it with you before. I'll share it with you again, because I ain't ashamed of it. I just went through it recently. There are times where I literally am being sent suicidal ideation energy, and I know it's not me. Once upon a time, I used to fall for it. When I was a child and in my early teens, I was constantly being bombarded with that energy, right? And when it gets really bad, when the attacks come in, really when they send a lot of death magic, it's coming from different angles, that energy sometimes will hit me again, but I know it's not me. But it doesn't mean the intensity of the emotions that it brings up, and the thoughts and the feelings and the caging effect. It doesn't mean I don't feel it. It just means I know it's not me. I know it's not real, but it doesn't make it easy, right? It doesn't make it easy. So if you've been going through that, okay, know that, I see you. I'm sorry that you're going through that, first and foremost, but please know it ain't you. That would never be you. That would never, your own higher mind won't play tricks on you like that. Your soul won't send you energy like that. When you start to feel that way, know that that's something being sent to you, or something that's being woken up in your fields that has been sent to you before, and you're clearing. But it's not your natural propensity. It's not your organic mind. Those are programs and spells that are either being cast towards you purposely, or they're coming undone because they were cast towards you before and now they have to leave. And most of the time when they're coming undone, they've been triggered in some way. Okay, so if this is resonating for you and you need confirmation, is somebody doing this? Yes, they are. They're purposely taking the time to send energy towards you to make you feel as if you're trapped in some way, like you have no way out of the timeline that you're in. And you know right now that you are due for a jump. You know you're not only ready, but you're deserving of this higher timeline. Right? And again, this is a collective energy. It's happening to all of us on a personal level. But even this accidental poisoning card, this is what these fuckers are doing to try to prevent the collective timeline jump into the new earth. It won't work because, again, you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. Okay? And the tactics that they're using right now, like I said before, they're risky because of desperation. Okay, but for those of you who are going through it in a more personal way, know that this is actually, when they try to corner you, the power in which you've been cornered and imprisoned and enslaved energetically and in your own circumstances is only a reflection of your ability to break out of it too. So I say all of that because these fuckers love to put you in situations where in real time, materially, you see no way out. But you see no way out because, again, you are viewing the situation through the consciousness with the ceiling. You know, where you were told that you can only maneuver and get out of things this way, and this is why there's no way out. You know, you've been told that there's no way that money can just show up out of nowhere. There's no way that this can happen, or there's no way someone can gift me something out of nowhere. There's no way that all of a sudden an account that I didn't even know I had existed. There's no way that something can just show up when I need it. But that's been a lie. But you've been programmed into it. I've been programmed into it. We've been programmed by trauma and by fear. And so it's difficult for us to tune into the possibility of something that we consider to be so whimsical, right? And to hold that in our fields, especially when we're going through these attacks. But this is where you're learning how to master this. This is where you're learning how to pull a rabbit out of the hat. You're learning to pull things out of the ethers that you were told you could never pull out. This is where you because the more they try to push you into the corner, you're going to come out of that place like a fucking elastic band and move so quickly to the other, to another timeline that, the truth of the matter is that some of them are trying to keep you out of the timeline that you're long overdue for being in. And what they're ultimately going to do is the more they push at you, not only are you going to get to that timeline, you're going to supersede that timeline and you're going to catapult yourself into higher timelines that maybe, it would have taken you longer to get to if you hadn't had this battle, this invisible battle with these energies trying to psych you out. Because again, they're bluffing. They're bluffing. They're trying to see how much you actually know. Do you really know who you are? Do you really know you hold the winning hand, or can I pretend I'm still the winner here? For some reason, and I don't remember the movie, I saw it when it came out in the movies, and I think that was like in 2008. It's a movie called Jumper. And I'm thinking about that movie now. So I don't know if somebody has watched it. I know if somebody's thinking about watching it. If you've been thinking about it, you should watch it. If when I said that, it made you think of something that you need to see, then I suggest that you watch that movie, Jumper. the card flying. Beautiful. The Empress just flew off my deck. Someone hates how much attention you get. And it's not even about like, having a whole bunch of, it's not even about having a whole bunch of followers and admirers per se, although it could be, but somebody just hates how much attention you get. Maybe even when you go out and people notice you, you might even not notice that people are noticing you, but other beings are, other people in your energy are. You are being called to work with the element of air. Remember I said that these beings be fucking with the element of air, but you know how to do that too. There's something that's being activated in you to remember how to utilize the power of mental energy and air to break yourself out of whatever it is, because a lot of this, like the psychic attack energy, it's mental attacks, it's mental energy that they're projecting. It's the constant thinking and then using like hatred or envy, whatever it is, lower energy to propel it towards you. And oftentimes these energies are more pronounced when you have a history with them. Hence the reason why some of the worst gang stalking occurs, in spiritual warfare by family members. Okay, because who is more powerful to attack you in that way than those who are able to not only think but get together and gossip about you, and all of them have this vitriol in their heart towards you, and you've gone through years and decades of drowning under this energy, and it's living within your system. So the minute that they start to get together and do that, it activates something in you that's already there, because they put it there. But that's when that happens, it's because it's time for you to give it all back, by the way. So you're being called to work with the element of air. It's time to remove stagnation. It's time for you to flow. It's time for you to get a higher perspective of who you are and to be anchored in the truth of who you are, so that your aura can be built up even more, so that these energies can continue to ping off even more effectively against their attacks. I love it. Their attacks can no longer cause damage in the same way. You are just experiencing the residual energies playing out. Okay, so these things have to leave. These are spells that have lived in you because they were wrought in you through their vitriol for many years, especially those of you, again, who are dealing with, the clearing of the family, the karmic family storylines, which, being the sun being in Capricorn, this is a very big energy. And then Mars in Cancer, this is coming up again to continually clear out the residue of how you were wrongly programmed against yourself, how those who were given the pen to hold and to help you begin to write your story in honor and in integrity and in truth, use that pen to write a story that was completely counter to who you actually are, to destroy you. Right? So you've built so much of your life. We build so much of our lives off of that fake story. And so those energies have just been residing in our fields, and we've been healing and clearing them out. But it goes deep. It goes deep. And many of these things, like it said, timeline jumping due to a divine union or contract. Many of you are scheduled to walk into divine unions, to walk into like soul tribe alignment now. And these things that have kept you from being loved wholly are going to come up because it's time for them to leave. And the way they come up is oftentimes the way they've been expressed in your energy through the experiences you've had. It's going to trigger you back into those experiences, so that not so you get stuck, but so you can see it for what it actually is, the truth of what it is, and how it was designed to stagnate you. And you can make peace with the true story and stop believing the lie and pledging your allegiance to the lie and creating cycles based upon the lie. And for many of you, the lie was that you weren't lovable, you weren't shit, you couldn't do this, you'd never go here. All of those things, right? And those are the lies that are wanting to be challenged this year, challenged by way of things entering into your reality that make you realize that that what was said to you and what you've lived was never actually true, and these are your true organic timelines. I love this. So at the bottom of the deck, we have all that they try to do to you is being reversed. And I was just talking about that, you know. I was just talking about how, you know, like earlier on, earlier on in the reading, and just now I was talking about how your aura is becoming more of a, you know, a shield spitting that stuff out. That's what it is. Like you are a return to sender spell. It's already encased in you. And that's how it was always supposed to be. You know, you are supposed to repel and reject energies that try to tear you apart, or try to take you off of the throne of self, or try to take you into realities that don't match your truth. Keeping secrets that they know will hurt you. You're dealing with a master manipulator. Okay? So the biggest secret that many of them have been keeping is, and they've been keeping it for decades for many of you, is the beauty of who you are. They saw it, but they refused to call it out in you. Instead, they created these false stories to blind you from seeing it, because they found your resplendence to be threatening. So they made up a whole story about you so that you would never wake up to it instead. And so that's partly, you know, the secrets that they've been keeping. And then, you know, some of them been doing some shady, shisty shit in the shadows, you know, in order to be who they are and who they were in the false matrix. And they've been using your energy as collateral. Let's call it for what it is. They've been tapping into your divine resources, into your divine gifts, into your divine access, and keeping you down in order to do that. That's a secret for some of you too. Some of you are about to wake up to realize just how conscious some of this stuff was. You know how, like, in these periods when you begin to wake up to how some people have just been playing in your energy all this time, you always question, like, well, how conscious was it? And did they really know what they were doing? And yada, yada, yada. And you give them so many fucking passes, right? No. You're about to wake up and see how deep some of this shit goes this year. And you're going to see how deep some of this shit goes because you're going to see it like pan out on the world stage too. Okay, so I'm going into my herbal deck for guidance, then we're going to wrap it up. What came out was allspice berries. Allspice berries are actually, contrary to what many people think, allspice is not a blend of other spices. It's not a blend of like cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger and blah, blah, blah. Many people think it's that. Allspice in and of itself is a berry. And it looks like a black peppercorn, except it's fatter. It's kind of like if a black peppercorn and a juniper berry had a baby, okay? Then you'd have what would look like allspice. It might even taste a little bit like that now that I think about it. But anyway, allspice, it does have this androgynous, I don't know if that's the right word for a spice, but you get what I'm saying. It's like an androgynous flavor profile, in that it kind of does taste a little bit cinnamony. It has that hot cinnamon flavor. Does taste a little bit like nutmeg. You know, it's very much those warm, beautiful spices that we use in baking. And allspice, actually, it does feel like it's like a combination of all of them, right? But allspice in energy work is very, very powerful for honing in your focus. It's very good for, in addition, it's not a spice that necessarily you would just use alone. But for example, if you're doing a working where you're trying to focus your will on a very specific task, like let's say you're trying to get your mental energy in point to focus on creating something, and you've dealt with a lot of like psychic attacks that has caused like fragmentation in your mental body, right? So you're utilizing other herbs to help you focus, like maybe mint and sage and rosemary. Those are the three that I like to use together, right? And then you add the allspice also to a working to help add more power and focus and direction to the intention of those other herbs. So allspice is a good catalyst. It's good for adding to things, right? And it's good for helping to like invoke your will even more on what it is you're doing, your personal will. It's also a herb and energy work that is used to make sure that what it is you are desiring is successful. Okay, it's a very determined energy, but you add it to something you're already doing. At the bottom, we have pine needles. Okay, pine needles. It cleanses and purifies. It drives out spirits. It does. Pine needles can drive out very sticky entities. Very sticky, stubborn entities. Pine needles can. Is another good one for clearing out these entities that like to telepathically do shit. Whenever you're dealing with energies that try to mess with you psychically or telepathically, using things that are considered to be nootropics in herbal medicine or in functional medicine can be very powerful in the use of ritual in clearing them out. Okay, so pine, like it's here, like I said before, mint, rosemary, sage. If you want to get into even like the mushrooms, like lion's mane, was I thinking cordyceps, ginseng, like all of these herbs that you would take for mental clarity to get rid of like mental fog. Rhodiola rosea is another one, saffron or St. John's wort. The herbs you would use to get rid of like mental fog, depression, those kinds of herbs can be very, very powerful in pushing out these energies that try to mess with you psychically too. Okay? Because not for nothing, the things that you go through that you've been diagnosed as being brain fog and all of this shit, depression, anxiety, yada, it's all based upon, most of the time, schisms in your mental fields. And for a lot of you, it's based upon people who've been psychically attacking you your whole fucking life. Okay, and so you're searching for the answers, I wouldn't say in the wrong place, but also deal with the spiritual component and remove yourself out of the energy of people who can't stand your ass and are constantly wanting to see your demise, but won't be honest enough to move themselves out and away from you. Who was it that said they're like, before you go and believe that you're depressed, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes. Because that's what so much of your depression really is. It's you being surrounded by assholes or people who can't stand you. And a lot of the time, they will pretend like that's not the issue, but you feel it. And that's what makes it more insidious, is when people fucking pretend like they like you, and the whole time they have the darkest thoughts towards you, like literally thinking about you dying and all this other shit. And all of a sudden, oh my God, I have suicidal ideation. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're literally living around people who don't want you to exist. Get away from them. Pine needles, powerful for clearing house, burning, for house clearing energies. So clearing out like physical presences that shouldn't be there, or I should say metaphysical presences that shouldn't be there. It's a very powerful home protector. And pine also moves stagnations and blocks. So with the pine together with the allspice, it's telling me here that you need to be very, very, rooted in your truth. Because you're dealing with energies that want to make you feel or not even make you feel. You're dealing with energies that want to play with your mind. But nothing can play with your mind when your mind belongs to you. Okay, so these herbs that are coming out are just emphasizing again the power and the importance of you owning your own mind and taking back that ownership from everything and everyone that's trying to own it. Because when someone is consciously manifesting things for you or against you, right, they're trying to take ownership of your mind. They're trying to take the position of being author in your life, when that's a position that only fucking belongs to you. So they're out of order, and you can call karmic justice on them, especially if they're doing it purposely. So again, coming back to that off-planet entity that was just chilling on New Year's Eve, until I told him about himself, because it felt masculine. I told him about himself, right? If I hadn't risen into the truth of what I knew about what that entity was doing, if I had cowered in any way because I doubted, then that energy could have wreaked havoc upon, it would have opened a door for that energy to wreak havoc upon my mental energy, right? So this pine needle allspice is like saying, don't even allow these energies an inch. Because what they're looking to do is open a door so they can come into your house and like throw your pillows everywhere and go, yeah, like in your home. And you've worked too fucking hard for that, so yes. Yes. They're looking for a way to slide through a window or slide through a door. And that's exactly how I knew that this energy had entered, because all of a sudden a gust of wind blew open a door, and there was no window to the outside open for a true gust of wind to have that kind of an effect. So, yeah. Anywho, it's been lovely hanging out with you guys as always. I hope that this reading was helpful. I hope it brought confirmation. I hope it helped to increase your sense of rightness. I hope it helped to, bring affirmation to what it is you're experiencing, because a lot of the time these things want you to suffer alone and to feel like you're cray-cray. We ain't doing that shit. They can go suck a big fatty. We're not doing that crap. We're not doing that crap, right? So, yes, that's all I have for you for tonight. For all information on how to work with me and how to book with me, you can find that. You can find that on my site, solara.info. But please know, if you're looking to do a soul recovery session, I have to update that site. So the soul recovery session, just go through Ko-Fi and book it directly. I just thought about that. I need to go on my site and update that. Okay, so you're looking for a soul recovery session, you don't have to email me for that anymore. You can book directly through Ko-Fi. You can find your slot in my calendar. You can pay for it right there, and you can set yourself up for the month of January. Those slots are there. Okay. For all other readings, you can contact me, solaraspeaks@proton.me. For the accountability partnership coaching, you can do that through the link that I'm going to share below. For joining the group, you can also do that through the link I'm going to share below. But for all other readings, you can find that information on solara.info, what the readings are about, and you can email me for my availability with those. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to consolidate everything together at one point, so just bear with me as I make these shifts, because I have a beautiful man that's helping me do this, but it's just like the two of us doing a lot of stuff. So please bear with us. The true and proper launch of Solara.xyz, hopefully with the community features, will be in the springtime around the equinox. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so I'm sending you all love. I will see you guys again soon. I've got more downloads. They're just coming in very quickly right now. So you might be seeing a little bit more of me, which I hope that's a good thing because I've missed you guys. But anyway, I wish you a beautiful rest of your day or evening or afternoon. Take care.